Welcome to the Do Good X podcast, a sanctuary from the entrepreneurial grind. Hosts Kimberly Danielle and Stephen Lewis, advocates for impactful entrepreneurship, guide you on the path where purpose meets business. Join us to slow down, reconnect, and explore the challenges of under-resourced entrepreneurs, uncovering the unique journey of building businesses that make a difference. Now, your hosts.
Welcome to the Do Good X podcast. My name is Stephen Lewis, and I'm a catalyst for positive change in communities and businesses for over 2 decades. I've inspired leaders and entrepreneurs to live and work on purpose with intention, faith, and a commitment to their well-being. And I'm joined today with my co-host, Kimberly Danielle. Hey, Kimberly.
Hi, Stephen, and welcome everyone. My name is Kimberly Danielle, and I am a communication strategist, a coach, and a community builder who comes from generations of faith-driven leaders and entrepreneurs who believe that our purpose should drive us to contribute to the common good. If you have been tuning in, you would have noticed that we are kind of focusing on topical areas over a series of episodes. And our next series is going to be focused on well-being. Now, this is a conversation that is popular these days across the board, just in general, especially during the time in which we're living in right now. But we specifically want to talk about this for entrepreneurs. It is not a lost conversation. It is not something that is going to get old. It is something that we absolutely need. And so, when we think about how do we rewrite the narrative of the entrepreneurial journey, because it is written as if you should always be hustling, you should always be grinding, you should always be doing that in order to be successful. And that's not what it necessarily looks like or has to look like. We want to talk about, journeying through entrepreneurial grief, loss, and change, because all of those are a part of the journey, not just your personal journey as you are a founder in your own personal lives, but those are things that you can also experience in the journey of entrepreneurship with your specific business as you pivot, as you iterate, as you have to make changes, as you shift from team members. Those are all things you experience. And it is so important to prioritize joy, play, celebration. Just when I'm thinking about this initially, there's so many stories I can think of, but one that just comes to mind. I'm not going to get in depth into her story, but we do have someone that's in the Do Good X community who is co-founder of a thriving business. The business is around 7 years old, and she took the courageous steps. Now I say courageous because when you're an entrepreneur, this is taking some courage. She took the courageous steps to take care of herself, take 30 days off to take care of her own mental health. And I know that's a struggle for entrepreneurs to even take a day off. And in her doing that, taking that break to take care of herself, her mental well-being, she confronted unprocessed trauma. She confronted her own grief and her own healing. And because of that, it resulted in her stepping down from her business and shifting to some entrepreneurial venture that aligns with where she is now and gives her the opportunity to create the type of rhythms that helps her to take care of herself. And so, she talks about self-care not being optional, and that the previous forms of her self-care were rooted in distraction versus decompression. Think about that. Distraction versus decompression. And that can lead to burnout. So just as I talked to her, as I just read her own reflections, it was really thoughtful. And it just emphasizes that this is the reality that we have to care for ourselves, because if we don't, it affects us, obviously, our relationships, our business, teams that we manage within our business, and so much more. So how we care for ourselves is a direct connection to how we show up in all spaces and places. And I know this is, you probably have tons of thoughts and stories, Stephen, that come to mind for you as well. But, this is just an important conversation for us to have and to continue having.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think at the end of the day, our health is our wealth. And I'm talking about wealth in terms of your well-being. And I think, what I would also say is that our net worth is tied to our wealth work, which is how do we actually care and protect for our health? I mean, the thing is that you are your greatest asset when it comes to your business. And if you don't take care of that number one asset, then your vision for what you might do and how you might do it and what you want to see in the world, it will be fraught with all types of hardships and pain or whatever. And so I think, there's this idea that, I'm gonna work now and I'll sleep later. But the reality is that if you are moving and working in the ebb of flow and purpose and a sense of that, there's enough for everybody with regards to what you need in order to do what you want to accomplish in the world, then you're oriented in the world differently. The way in which you approach your business is something totally different. And so I think, it's really important. And the invitation here is really to kind of rewrite the narrative of what a successful founder is. I think that the myth of the hustle culture and equating this with productivity and success is just laden with all types of fallacies. And it also can result in you not tending to your own health and well-being, which can cut short the vision of which you actually plan. I mean, we see this in just one of the stories of Catherine Finney, who is one of our guest speakers and a person that we kind of admire from afar. But, one of the things that she oftentimes says is that hustles can build companies, but it also can destroy the person who dreamed them up. So building a life that you don't have to recover from is essential. It's important. There's no, I think, value in building the company if you're not here long term to actually see that company to its fullest potential in that regard. So living into this myth can lead to burnout. It can lead to potential health issues and a disconnection from yourself, your loved ones, and your faith, and create a kind of disequilibrium in terms of your relationship with other things that are important in your life. So the invitation is really to reframe success in terms of sustainability over speed, or the narrative of you always have to be the one who's on. Think about the ways in which you can engage in integration, blend in work and life harmony with intention, and then also think about being purposeful, being attending to your inner peace, attending to the feelings that align when you explore and experience challenges within your business or in your life. And so one of the things I want to, as you think about these invitations, I want to share just a brief story of a founder who took a break, returning back to Catherine Finney. She's a really good example because in September 2023, she had shared on her social channels that, she was keynoting at major conferences, running her own business, venture fund, being a super mom, and all that drove her straight to the ER because of a hypertensive in crisis. And the doctor said to her, "You'll be dead in 2 years if you keep going like this." And so she had spent her whole lifetime building and funding companies, movements, and ecosystems. But the one thing that she had not attended to in terms of building that mattered mostly was herself. So sometimes the most powerful businesses move that you can make is to start with yourself. Start with the most important asset in your business. It involves reclaiming your joy as a business strategy for her. And she used kind of this metaphor of this idea of kind of technology stacks, where you have a stack of technologies that you use within your business. She turned around and thought about that in terms of her emotional stack, her physical stack, and her financial stack. So just taking emotional stack as an example, one of the things, Catherine said was that it all starts with your inner world, your emotional stack. Because if you're not good inside, nothing else matters. And we all know that, right? And so one of the things that she says, you have to let go of what no longer serves you. For her, she had to invest in therapy and coaching because they're two different things and they both matter. And then the other thing that she did in terms of her emotional stack was she kept a daily gratitude journal, and how gratitude can really kind of shift your focus and your attitude about life, about work, about all the things that are vying for your attention. And so those are just some of the things that she did when she thought about prioritizing her life and herself in her business. So I want to leave you with a question. What are your greatest assets for your business? And what's one thing that you're doing or will do to build the most important aspect of your business, namely yourself?
That's a really good question. Yeah, I hope that you all are writing it down and take some time to reflect on that, journal about it. If that, journaling may not be your thing, maybe it's just talking out loud or taking a walk in nature and just kind of doing some reflections on that, because the entrepreneurial journey is real and life is real. And there's grief in life, there's trauma, there's hardship, there's so much. On the flip side, there's a lot of light too and a lot of joy. But the question is, how do you address that in a way that kind of counterbalances both sides, and gives you that center, gives you that center. So, I know on the journey there, I mentioned this earlier, there may be times where you have to let go of a vision in your business. That's considered grief. So we tend to think of grief, on a personal level, in our own lives, of losing something or someone. But there's also the grief that comes along in business. There's also grief that can come with a team, or letting go of an idea, or letting go of an idea that you were so wed to, and it's just not working. It's not what your customers or your community needs. And between what goes on in our personal lives and our entrepreneurial lives, this can be compounded and bring you to a point that Catherine Finney got to, or so many other entrepreneurs have gotten to. And so while she shared her emotional stack, and I think that's a great way of looking at it, I want to remind us all that these are practices to get us to a place of presence and peace. They're just tools, and there's tons of them. There's so many: meditation, movement, breath work, being in nature, rituals that you may do, therapy, community, rest. And all of these things, all of these tools and valuable resources can bring us to the present. And that is important. Present and tuning in to ourselves. Hi, I'm Kimberly Danielle.
And I'm Stephen Lewis, and we're the co-founders of Do Good X.
If you are building a purpose-driven business and generating $60,000 or more annually, this fall, we have created something just for you. It's an experience designed to help you scale with clarity and support.
And so from November 6th through 8th, we're gathering a small group of underestimated, impact-focused social entrepreneurs for an intimate weekend here in Atlanta.
This is the launch of Do Good X's Mastermind community, starting with this in-person retreat. This is a chance to really decelerate from the hustle, reconnect with your inner wisdom, and align with mentors and tools to grow your business in ways that honor your values, but also your well-being.
And you'll walk away with renewed clarity, expert insights, real relationships, and an action plan to scale your impact without burning out.
And for those of you who are ready to go deeper, you'll be invited into our 6-month Mastermind experience, a coaching and education journey rooted in purpose, faith, and community.
Spots are limited, and we invite you to dogoodx.org/mastermind community to learn more and apply today.
We can't wait to welcome you to Atlanta in November. So, I really hope that you take the opportunity to get clear about what you need. And also take note of the clarity that emerges through challenge. Once you reflect on that question that Stephen named, once you have some tools that you may use or practices, journal about the clarity. Take note of that. Develop a different, more healthy way to run your business that aligns with your own well-being. If you need to step away from your business to care for yourself, that might be the most powerful, courageous, and necessary step that you might need to take. And also celebrate if you find that in the process you have to bring something to a close, you have to bring your business to a close or sell it. Celebrate that. That is a celebration. We talked last season with the founder, Alicia Gordon, who has since shared publicly that she was bringing her work to a close in her organization. And beautiful celebration. Of course, there's a lot of grief around it, but it was something that she decided to do to take care of her own self, and because she was being called in a different way. And I'm not saying that that's your story, but that's a story. And it might resonate with some of you. Others of you, it might just be realigning with what's balancing taking care of yourself and how you function and lead your business. Whatever it is, honor yourself, take care of yourself, and be intentional about it.
Yeah, those are good points, Kimberly. I think that, what I oftentimes think about is that what may have gotten you to the point that you are in your success may not be what you need to get to the next stage of success. And oftentimes it requires pivots, and pivots oftentimes invite us to grieve what is no longer, what is not to be. And then it's in that grieving and it's in that shifting, whether it be about your business or maybe even how you have to operate and function as an individual, that you come to discover new habits and patterns that are able to get you to the next leg of the journey. And so I think those are really important. And I want to reemphasize that, the invitation in terms of self-care is also thinking about your own joy, to think about being playful and not taking yourself so seriously, and to celebrate the small wins in your life, whether it's a change of diet or a change of habit or a change of something that you do in terms of grounding yourself and getting your day started for the work that you need to do ahead. Joy can bring fuel for the journey, and it can counterbalance the challenges or the hard work that you put in doing entrepreneurship. Play can spark creativity, build resilience, and invite curiosity, and maybe even good times of just good laughter to kind of be able to release whatever stress that you may be holding. Then celebration is a ritual. It's not just about big wins, right? I mean, it's about the small wins. It's about, what are you learning? What risk are you taking? Maybe you're launching a business, gaining customers, receiving funding, or successfully pitching your business. All those things you can look at and celebrate. And I think, again, the invitation is to think about how you can build rhythms of joy, play, and celebration that brings light, inspiration, and resilience to your entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And I know we're posing a lot of questions here, but they are good questions to be intentional about thinking on and reflecting on. And of course, I'm going to follow that up with another question of what if? What if you chose wholeness yourself over hustle, and to make room for not just building and scaling, but for what you are experiencing, whether that's grieving what has been lost, celebrating what has been achieved or survived, and inviting joy in. What if success doesn't have to cost you your well-being, and you get to define, just like you get to define everything in your life, you get to define and create what success looks like on your entrepreneurial journey, and to make space for the fullness of being human, because we are not machines. As much as systems may want to make us machines, we are not machines. We are humans. And so we have to care for our wholeness in being human.
Yes. And at Do Good X, we see this as work that we're committed to, supporting purpose-driven founders who are building boldly and living fully. So if you're looking for a community that honors your well-being as much as your vision, come join us. You don't have to do this alone. You can learn more and connect with us at dogoodx.org.
I hope that you honor yourself, you take care of yourself, and we hope that you'll tune in into the next episode. And until then, be well and do good.
Do good.
Thank you for listening to the Do Good X podcast. To continue the conversation or access our resources, visit www.dogoodx.org. Join us again for conversations that will nourish your soul, ignite your dreams, and empower you to build an impactful business, one intentional step at a time. Until then, keep striving, thriving, and doing good.